I guess really yesterday as it went on. It's been working with Patrick and then working with Pat Brisson and trying to find a way that could accommodate him and what their wishes are. And obviously that's got to still they've got to put some work in on that. But that was really the only way that we were going to be able to do something on that end for Patrick. And I think everyone here knows how we feel about Patty Marleau and what he's done for our organization. So we felt we were trying to do all that we could to help him. And in our situation with our cap, we didn't want to do one of those trades where it was moving a salary or a cap hit that was going to take anybody off our roster. So you start to look at your draft capital, and when you're talking about a 6.25 cap hit and $4 million in cash, you start to have to pay a hefty price, and that's what we've done today. But for Patty and for our current team, don't have to take anybody off the team and to accommodate the wishes of the Marleaus. After all he's done for us, sometimes you do things like that, and that's how it all came together, Paul.
How did you decide that the first round pick was the right price?
You kind of gauge what the market wants in return for what you're trying to move on, and we've got a valuation system that we use, so we knew how much, and then it becomes a different part, Jonas, which is do you value the cap space or do you value the actual cash? And in our business now, the way the economics are set up, you have to value both, and they usually aren't the same on contracts, the way that the contracts are structured with different teams. So it's trying to find that balance for what would be fair for the team that's acquiring him, and also trying to protect ourselves. There was a few teams that are on the mix, and for us, we couldn't take anything back in terms of a salary back because of our situation, and wanted to protect ourselves, and we didn't want to give up any other younger players. In fact, we were trying to get them all signed. So that's how it all came together, and it's not perfect. There's no science that tells you how much they're worth, like in baseball, which would be great, but that's how it all came to be.
And this should help sign those players, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, I think the key for us was, you hate to give up we didn't have a first round pick this year, and obviously now we don't have one next year. You hate to be in that position and put that type of pressure on your scouts and then your development people. But when making that call, we sat as a group and said, we could go that way and keep our picks, which are largely unknowns, or we could start to move players off our roster, which we really didn't want to do, especially with the quality of the young players that were being asked for in that exchange. So, we in the end decided that the pick was the way to go.
How close are you then on capping in the odds?
We're very close. Brandon Pridham's done incredible work, and on their end with Kasperi, Marcus Lato, and Simon Ornan have been great, and then with Andreas Janssen, Jared Bouquet, and Patrick Aronson have been great, and especially this week trying to get things moved along and to a conclusion on them. So they're right at the finish line. We just have to punch them across, which will be nice.
Where is Marleau then? Is he at the 20-yard line then? Midfield?
With Mitch, I mean, like I said on Thursday, he's an incredible person and an incredible player for our team, and we're going to continue to work with Darren here to try to move it along, and I don't have much else to offer since Thursday, really, right? And we'll just as I said, keep working on it and hear back from Darren here, and then roll on.
Is Jake Gardner possible?
Those guys will be paid to captain.
Oh, I think, Chris, it's
the overall picture.
Yeah, it's vital. I mean, it's rather than just guessing and trying to have a framework or a ballpark and what type of years you're going to be on them, to know right now in and about where they're going to land, save for a few more things that we need to finish off on, and Brandon will get that done with their people. It's a huge relief for us, and I think for us, knowing that they're locked in and not just on for 1 year, and that they're going to be a part of our group for a while, and they're big young pieces for us. So that's a big help. And
Is Jake Gardner a possibility now?
We still don't have that amount of. But we love Jake. I know we talked to us at the year-end press conference as well. I mean, he's been unbelievable for our team. He's a huge part of having the team turn around. There've been a few guys that have been with the team from the days when the team was, when we first arrived, the first 2 years where we finished fourth last and last. And without those players and their contributions, Jake being a key one, team is not where it's at now in terms of competitiveness, and we would like to continue to keep that on the front burner, but until we solve Mitch's situation, it's impossible to engage with anybody.
Progress on Nikita? finding a new home for Nikita?
Was Nikita Zaitsev? At this point, it's status quo. And the way that we look at it is, we're willing to try to, as I said in Buffalo at the Combine, we're willing to try to accommodate and work with him. But bluntly, but we need a similar player back. So until we can do that, we don't have the depth on D, and we don't want to rush our prospects. So that's what's been communicated to Dan Milstein.
I was just going to ask you, there was speculation about Subban, Kyle, so then are you still in the market for a defenseman, regardless of what happens with Zaitsev, or how does that
Sure.
work?
Well, I think we're always trying to improve the group, and if we can improve our D, we will. I think our forward group is very good, but you're always trying to improve everything. So I think as it goes, and I understand what comes along with being in Toronto. I think everyone here is smart enough to know what our team needs. You guys watch the team and travel with them all year, so everyone has their opinion. It's well educated, and so whenever those types of players are available, I think it's always going to be drawn back to us to see where we're interested, and we'll always investigate things that can make us better.
Are you surprised to see him move today?
Was that to see him move?
Yeah, just how good he is.
Yeah, I mean,
Player changing teams.
I guess there's lots of good players that change teams. I wasn't stunned or surprised. There's very few players in the league, I guess, that I would be surprised if they moved. Maybe 10 or 15, and beyond that, maybe you're mildly shocked. But otherwise, it's just the way it is, especially with the cap not rising as much as was expected, and maybe depending on how you plan for that, you've got to rearrange and adjust.
So I think only one draft pick was moved across the league yesterday. Were you expecting the type of movement we saw today after teams got to go back and meet last night and sort of discuss things?
I don't know if this is fact or not. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. It always seems that there's more moves on the second day, where maybe it's not the Friday night portion of it. I think that can sometimes slow things down, especially in the back half or in the front part of the draft, where if you're going to move something, they're a little bit more tentative. But I wasn't surprised. It seemed like there were a ton of trades today, and there was a lot of activity around. It seemed like every single pick there for a stretch. So I guess it wasn't a surprise. No.
Call with the possibility that the RFA's, well, not a possibility, the RFA speaking window will open on Wednesday.
Right.
Mitch may be getting calls from teams,
Sure.
which is
Yeah.
within the rules. I mean,
Yeah.
is that disconcerting, or maybe will actually help the process in terms of understanding the market?
Yeah, I don't know, Pierre. I mean, it's tough to say. I think there's, and I think we go back again to where we were Thursday when we convened. There hasn't been a lot of movement on any of them, so I think there's a lot of curiosity around the league with so many RFAs that are unsigned. How is it going to affect the communication? What's the process going to be? Because it's with the quality of these players this year, and by and large, you look at all the different situations around the league. They're not just good players, but they seem to be great people, and they're so respected in their community. Not just Mitch with us. We know what he's about for us, but you go all throughout the league, and the teams that have those really good young players coming off entry level, they seem to be an important part of not only the team but the community. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all gets handled. There's not a real barometer. I don't think I think we look back and there's been one case where a Group 2 RFA with no arbitration rights visited other teams since 2008. So it's a little bit of a new world, and we'll see what happens.
Do you think there's reluctance to be the first guy to sign? Everyone out there.
I don't know. Perhaps I think that's probably a better question for the players than for us. I know none of them have signed. I'm not sure exactly why. I mean, we're fortunate to be nearing a conclusion with two of our others, which is nice for us. And so I think as the draft passes here and we shift to this week, there's obviously going to have to be some sort of action and movement on a lot of fronts.
Through the process, we've kind of checked in with you on your level of optimism that things would be able to get done.
Sure.
Come to the draft and maybe the ball not being moved forward much. Where is your level of optimism that something will get done?
Well, I think I'm generally an optimistic person. You try to be realistic as well, and I think we want to, as I've said to a lot now, Ryan, we want to keep our young players as part of our team. So that's what we'll continue working towards that, and got some time here left. Obviously, you always hope that you don't go right down to the final hour. Seems to be a specialty of ours a little bit, but we'll try to avoid it this time.
Sometimes past it?
I don't think, have we passed it yet? I don't know. We'll see. Not yet. I don't know, but we hope that it comes to a good conclusion for everybody, because I think that's what everybody wants in the end.
What are your thoughts on the players you guys drafted here?
Yeah, I thought, for one, I thought John Lilly was his first full season as our director of amateur scouting, and I thought he, along with Ari Vuri and Tim Speltz, they work so well together. And then we have Wes Clark and Dave Morrison and Jim Paliafito in our player personnel department that are working in lockstep with them, and I thought they worked very well. We have a real tight criteria in terms of the types of players that we're looking for and how we want to go about it, and so we were excited to add the types of guys that we did, and especially not having a first, you worry that it puts a little bit too much pressure on the scouts. We tried to relieve that by just saying here are the types of guys we're looking for, and we were happy with what we came away with, for sure.